is Serenity, serene for short. It means calm, peaceful, or tranquil, a title of honor and respect. My mother was a witch. She died protecting a family she didn't even know from sister witches trying to get their children to make potions out of and then eat the remains. My mother was pregnant with me at the time, ready to pop, as they would say. The sisters cast their spells together. My mother, knowing she wasn't going to make it, cast her own spell of safety and serenity from evil witches, cloaking us. They struck my mother, sending the evil magic rushing through her body. At that moment, a force blew open the windows. Tree limbs grabbed the sisters and dragged them deep into the woods. The family sat there with my mother as I came into this world. They laid me in her arms. I could feel the warmth and love in her eyes as she looked at me. I could feel everything. The mother whispered serenity. My mother smiled at the woman and gave me a kiss. Then she was gone, for evidence of the sisters, but found no remains. That was my family now. They knew I'd be different, but never treated me as such. I could tell something was always bothering them, though. They was my parents, and they loved me. I developed my powers extraordinarily fast, but my mom always told me to always use my powers for good like my mother. I lived a nice childhood till one night a drifter came. They gave him shelter from the storm, food, clothes, a warm place to sleep. I woke to the sounds of struggles from my siblings. It was a dark apprentice. He had took my family from me. I ran into my parents' room where my mother laid on the floor. Frantic and angry, I noticed my appearance begin to change. My mother called out to me, Serenity, there is power inside you do not know, an evil magic. She handed me a book. I found this the day you came to us. It appeared at your bedside. With her last breath, she told me, we have always loved you. Never lose who you are, Serenity. My family was gone, and I was all alone. Scared of the evil inside me, I ran off, knowing I had to find answers. That's when I found my sisters.
How did this all happen? I keep asking myself over and over. Is this a blessing? Is this a curse? How does this really work? I guess let me start from the beginning. I was born during the biggest thunderstorm our little town had ever seen. Not being able to be in a hospital, my father was the one who delivered me. He tells me my family was not allowed at the hospital because we were different. I asked him to tell me the story over and over as I tried to figure out these amazing powers I hold. Growing up, he always told me my mother was magical, but I always thought it was just terms of endearment. Now that I'm older, I know it's more than that. I've always believed my mother to be a witch, and now my father has confirmed it. See, the night I was born, my mother, in intense pain, created this thunderstorm, and as I emerged into the world, her final scream, she was struck by lightning. As I only got a little electricity, my mother, however, did not make it. The little that I got, though, adrenalized my already magical genes into something quite remarkable. But as I have no other witches alive in my family, I've been wandering through life without any teachers. I've been developing my powers on my own and coming to the realization that I can do so much more than my family or I ever really expected. Then life really went downhill. As my father remarried and his new wife found to be a complete threat, we began to fight and draw apart. I found the more upset I got, the worse things got. His new wife tried to send me away and take over my father's life, and that was the night of the second biggest thunderstorm our little town had ever seen. Wind gusting, lightning strikes, I was completely out of control. I felt the anger running strong through my veins, so I ran, through dark skies and pouring rain. I ran, and that's when I met my sisters.
I have always been different. Different from humans, different from witches, different from the undead. I learned this the day I was born as I already had a full memory of my time in the womb and coming into the world. I remember seeing my mother and father's faces and smiling at them. I even remember throwing my rattle, but not with my hands. Growing up with witches all around me, I learned very early I had powers, but no one ever saw coming the amount of magic I really held, until one night. I was 6. My mother and father sat me down to explain to me that my father would be going away for a while. Did he not love us anymore? I wish now that had been the reason. As our conversation went on, I realized the room getting darker, colder, when suddenly the fireplace burst into flames bigger and hotter than anyone had ever seen or felt. Me and my mother screamed in terror, and feeling defenseless, we watched my father be pulled into the fire. I broke from my mother's arms and ran as fast as I can, straight into the flames. And as I could hear him whisper something, there was nothing left but ash. My father was gone. The room went pitch black, and that's when it happened. I don't know how it happened, or why, but I began to glow. Like burning embers of a midnight fire, I was glowing. My mother said we needed to hide this, that it wasn't witch's way, and so I did. Continuing my life and learning all there was to know about being a witch, I started realizing I was much stronger, more powerful, and a lot darker than my peers. Had something happened that night when I was 6? Something I missed? A secret no one was telling me? I had to find out. I ran to my mother, bursting with questions, all the questions she'd prayed I'd never asked. She told me I was old enough now that she could explain. She explained I was born a rare magic. I was born of a forbidden love. I was born a hybrid. A new demon disciple of the underworld was sent to battle and destroy my mother and all her good, but when he had arrived, he'd fallen in love with her instead. They knew this was forbidden. They knew they would both be killed and vanquished if caught, and as they went to part ways, my mother realized she was pregnant. Then they tried everything they could to stay together, to keep us all together, but they knew evil would come back for him, to take my father away, back into the underworld. Once I was born, the King of Darkness himself was astounded with the magic I held. He believed I would be great help to him and chose to let us live normally, awaiting to see the destruction I would embellish. By the time I was 6, the king noticed I was steering away from darkness and accepting the goodness of my mother. He became angry. My father felt it coming. He knew they would be coming for him soon for not teaching me to use my evil powers. He came to take my father in hopes it would set off the evil inside me. My mother began binding spells and memory spells to keep me from the danger and to keep me from remembering that dreadful night. But I could still see his face. I remember him telling me to follow my mother and to never be like him. But as the underworld grasps him in its filthy, rotten hands, it's harder to feel close to him, no matter how hard I try. So now I live, half witch, half demon, with the light of my mother and the darkness of my father battling through my veins. Who will I become? I wonder this constantly. But then I found my sisters.
I strain my mind to remember my past before the orphanage. My mind wanders. Where did I live? Who was my family? And why didn't they want me? Is it because of my gift? Was I born with it? But all I can remember is my life in the orphanage. It was a dreadfully horrible place with holes in the walls, leaks in the roof, and only little thin mats to sleep on. There wasn't many of us, and we were never allowed to play or talk, only to do our daily chores, even if we were sick or in pain. If we didn't get them done, we would all be punished. They'd fill the bathtub full of freezing water and throw us in, holding us down until we almost drowned, and then they would pull us up just in time, letting us take a breath while they told us we were getting what we deserved. I endured this for many years, until one night after dinner, I was cleaning off the table when I tripped. Food went everywhere and plates shattered all over the floor. The master, as we were forced to call him, came in and grabbed me by the hair and led me to the tub. But I felt different this time. I wasn't scared. He threw me in the water and held me down, and finally I couldn't take it anymore. I was done with all the abuse, so I decided to drown myself. With my head submerged, I took a deep breath, but to my astonishment, it was just like breathing to me. I could feel the water running through my veins. The water began to boil rapidly, and the master took his hand away and stepped back. I closed my eyes and pictured the water lifting out of the tub, surrounding the master and knocking him out of the room. When I opened my eyes, I realized it wasn't just a thought. The water fell to the floor, splashing into the outlet, sending sparks flying, and I ran. But then the mistress caught me, dragging me back towards the master. But I broke free and pushed them both into the closet and locked the door. And I ran to get the others, crawling under the smoke and flames, and I got them out. Watching the fire, I knew despite all the horrible things they'd done, I couldn't leave the master and mistress in there. I could feel the water in the lines of the house, so I closed my eyes and pictured them exploding and surrounding the house, putting the fire out. And it worked! I went to find the two, but it was too late. The master and mistress were already dead. So in a panic, I ran. I ran as fast as I could into the woods, and that's where I found my sisters.